Hello Ace, this is RetroTK2 and today you'll learn the basics of if statements. Oh yeah, we're getting into the juicy stuff now, Ace. You'll be looking at the very basic logic of if statements, touching upon else statements and unraveling nested if statements. If you're new, welcome. Please feel free to subscribe by clicking the icon on the bottom right of the screen, and I'd advise you to download the channel files that accompany this video. Card should be on your screen now, Ace. Also, if this is your first introduction to C#, I definitely suggest checking out the start of this series. Card should be on your screen once again. Right, now all that's out of the way, let's get started. If statements are the building blocks of most computer programs, Ace. Firstly, what is an if statement? According to MSDN, an if statement identifies which statement to run based on the value of a Boolean expression. Let's see some examples of this, Ace. Open up Unity and create a basic C# script. As always, Ace, make sure the script has a different name than any other class in your project. The most basic if statement would be if open bracket true, close bracket, open curly brace, close curly brace. That's it, Ace. We can all go home. Well, not exactly. Let's look at what's going on here. At all stages of an if statement, it's basically asking a question. Is this statement true? If it is, execute the code inside the following curly braces. And if it's not, ignore the code inside the curly braces. In our current example, it's pretty obvious what the answer to this question will always be. So now if I attempt to log out a very basic string to the console, it should execute this piece of code. Save the script, head back into Unity, drag our script on the AnyGame object in the scene, and run our game. And you'll see that if is logged. Great, but what if we change the true to a false, Ace? Save the script, head back into Unity, and rerun the game. And nothing is logged out because our statement is now false. That's it, Ace. Really, that is if statements in a nutshell. If a statement is true, the code executes. If it's false, then it doesn't. Let's move on to else statements. To declare an else statement, type else after the closing if curly brace and open and close the curly brace. It has to be noted that else statements can only exist with an if statement. It cannot exist on its own, Ace, and declaring one will throw an error. Unexpected token. The code inside an else block is only executed if the if statement is false. If our if statement is true, the code inside the if statement is executed and the code inside the else block is ignored. Let's see this in action, Ace. I'll keep the if statement set to false and log out a very basic string. Save a script, head back into Unity and rerun the game, and we see that else is logged. Just to make sure we're being kept honest, Ace, if I change the statement to true, save, head back into Unity and rerun the game, you'll see that if is now logged. Fantastic! Hopefully this is easy enough for you to understand, Ace. Now there is another type of statement called an else if statement. This one comes after the if statement but before the else statement, like so, Ace. This one works exactly like an if statement and similar to an else statement. Here, if the first if statement is false, the code will then hit this else statement and ask the question, is this statement true? If the else if statement is true, the code in its block will be executed and the code in the else statements will be ignored. Let's see this in action, Ace. Once again, I'm going to log out a very basic string. Save the script, head back into Unity and rerun the game. And you'll see that else if is logged. Excellent, Ace. You can add more else if statements if you like, Ace. There's truly no limit to the number of else if statements you can have. So feel free to add as many as you need. You can also nest ifs within ifs, Ace, creating a sort of ifception. Actually, I have a real problem with that saying, Ace. Somethingception is reference to Inception the movie, but in the movie, Inception isn't going so many levels deep. Inception is when you put a thought in someone's head and make them think that they came up with it on their own. So it really doesn't make any sense. Anyway, back to nested if statements, eh? These should work exactly how you'd expect, Ace. You put an if inside an if, the second if statement will only get checked if the first if statement is true. And its code will only get executed if that statement is true. Let's see it in action, Ace. Here we're expecting both logs to execute. Save, head back into Unity, and rerun the game. And you'll see the first if is logged, and so is the second. However, whenever I change the second if statement to false, save, head back in and rerun, you'll see that only the first if is logged. I hope this is all making sense. It probably goes without saying, but an if that follows another if has no dependency on the first. That is, both statements are independent of each other. If I save, head back into Unity, and rerun the game, you'll see that both execute their code as you would expect. This leads me on to the next thing is, if an if's block of code, that's this, is only one line, you can remove the curly braces and it will still behave as normal. Save, head back into Unity, and rerun the game, and you'll see everything is as it should be. You can even put them on the exact same line, yes. And do it with the exact same one down here. Save, head back into Unity, and rerun the game. And once again, they behave exactly as normal. This little trick won't work, however, if the code spans more than one line. Doing so will just force the second line to go underneath the if statement. This works with else if statements and else statements as well. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it before in this series, but you can also move all your code onto the same line if you like. Like so. As long as the code compiles correctly, you should be fine. Unfortunately, I can't quickly test it for you since I have format on save enabled. So when I save, it reformats. If you'd like to get that functionality yourself, check out my video on it. Card should be on your screen now. I'd personally advise against moving your code onto the same line since it doesn't usually express what the code does easily. But if you have a real love for it, please be my guest. This has been a fairly basic look at the bare bones of if statements. And that's it. Rate, comment and subscribe, I hope you enjoyed it. You can email me at retrotk2@gmail.com with any of your suggestions. Thank you for watching this, and I'll see you in the next video.